I didn't know if these were all easy. Igor, I feel like we need to chat about the difficulty settings. In the last 30 days, the average person skimmed about 15 articles, started 10 podcasts, watched over 50 YouTube videos, and shocker, scrolled through over 8,000 TikToks. Now, the question is, how much of that do you actually remember? Well, a scary fact is that you will forget 80% of the content you consume today in the next 24 hours. It's called the forgetting curve, introduced by Hermann Ebbinghaus in the 1880s, a psychologist who pioneered the experimental study of memory. Now, we've built Recall to offset that forgetting curve. Save all the content you care about, YouTube videos, podcasts, PDFs, even those 8,000 TikToks, and Recall will create personalized quizzes for you. Just as you're about to forget something, Recall will resurface it to ensure it really sticks. About 8 months ago, we launched the first version, which you've probably forgotten about, but it did get us product of the day, week, and month, which really surprised us as we were not sure about how this feature would resonate with users. And I guess in a world where we're really concerned about AI making us lazier, a tool that truly made you smarter clicked. So with that, I'd love to walk you through Recall's Quiz 2.0. It makes the whole experience a lot more flexible, customized, fun, and the best part, a little bit more competitive. Let's get to it. A quick recap, if you are new to Recall, Recall is an AI-powered knowledge base where you can save all of the content you're consuming online, or you can upload PDFs, bulk import your bookmarks, or just take your own notes. So you can use Recall as a rich text editor with tables, to-do lists, code blocks. You can go nuts, and everything is saved in your AI knowledge base. What you're looking at is my personal knowledge base. And there's a couple different ways that you can add content to Recall. You can go ahead and click the add button, paste in a URL of any piece of content. Or if you're on the go and you have your mobile app, you can just share content directly with the Recall mobile app. And my personal favorite has always been the browser extension. So I'll start this demo going a little bit deeper into that. So here we have a 4-hour-long podcast on Google, The History of AI by the Acquired Podcast. And I did listen to the full 4 hours and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But I thought it would be a great way to put my knowledge to the test. So here you can see I've got the YouTube video. I can go ahead and just click the Recall browser extension. And you can see in just a few seconds, it generated a concise summary for me. So that's great because perhaps I just want to skim through it and actually see if the content is for me. Or I can chat with my content. So for example, I can just ask, make me a chronological order of key events. And now I get a really nicely formatted answer. And if I want, I can go ahead and save that to my notebook. I'm going to click the lock button because what's really nice is while I'm reading this, if there's particular areas of the podcast I want to skip to, I can just click the timestamp and it will jump to that exact minute. So here it's minute 19, where they cover a little bit more about the launch of Google Brain, for example. And if you head back to the notebook, we also have all of these connections that have been extracted. So for example, here I see Demis is mentioned, and I can see that I have 10 other things that mention Demis. So scrolling through here, I can see that I listened to a podcast from ages ago that specifically mentioned Demis. I also have the thinking game here. So for example, if I wanted to skip to the exact point where he was mentioned, I can click on it and then find the exact point that he was mentioned in this other YouTube video from ages ago, as well as find the exact timestamp in that previous video where he was mentioned. So that's quite a cool feature. But coming back to this, the last thing I just want to call out is that you can see that it got this tag automatically, Business and Technology AI in 2026. So when I open this up into Recall, what you'll see is this tag coincides with the left-hand panel. And that's really how organization works in Recall. So things are automatically organized. I didn't give it this. It knew that I had a specific category called AI 2026, and that was where it saved it. Now, just a couple other things before I get deeper into quiz is we have all those same features I covered in the extension, the notebook, the reader, the chat. Quick note on chat is you don't just have to chat with a single piece of content at a time. You can head over to the chat button in the left-hand corner, and here you can chat with your entire knowledge base. So you can think about it as having a curated conversation with your knowledge versus, say, with ChatGPT, where you're having a conversation with the entire internet. And we also have a graph view. This is a really fun feature, but it requires a little bit more time to go into. So if you're interested in seeing how all of your knowledge connects, I highly recommend that you check out my graph view tutorial from a couple weeks back. All right, so getting into Quiz 2.0. When you save any content into Recall, or even when you just take your own notes for that matter, you can come over to the Quiz tab and you can see here that you have an option to generate questions. So clicking on this, there's a lot more flexibility that you're going to see than what you previously had. One of the first things you can do is that you can adjust the number of questions that you'd like generated. I think for a 4-hour-long podcast, I may go a little bit longer, so let's say 20 questions, for example. And now we have a lot more choices in terms of the types of questions that you would want to generate. We've got multiple choice, like always. We have fill in the blank, which is really fun. We've got matching. We've got flashcards, so I'll include that. We've got true or false. And we even have short answers, so paragraph-style open-ended questions, as well as ordering. And there's also some options on difficulty, so you can go easy, medium, hard, or mixed. I think for this one, I'll stick to mixed because it was quite lengthy, and I think getting a feel for the various levels will be fun. And then there's a couple additional settings. So you can include explanations. I personally love this because when you get an answer correct or incorrect, you actually want a bit of context on where did this fit in? And so I love having a little bit more context with my explanations. You can also include hints. That's always great if you're stuck. And this is a really important one, but you can decide if you want this quiz to fall into a slightly bigger feature called the Recall Review. I'm going to come to the Recall Review in a bit, but because of this, I'm going to keep it on. So it's going to make my way to the Recall Review, which I'm going to explain in a minute. Let's go ahead and generate these 20 questions. Okay, so now that I have all of my questions generated, there's a couple things that I'll walk you through before you actually see me taking the quiz. So you can always generate more questions, or you can come in here and create your own, so you don't have to feel forced to use the AI-generated questions. You can come in here and fully customize it yourself. Additionally, you get a nice overview of all of the questions that are in here. You can filter them by what's in your Recall Review schedule. I'm going to come to that in a minute. By type or by difficulty, so easy, medium, and hard. You can also bulk select all of them and review just a few at a time or delete them. And you also have a search bar. So of course, if you end up generating a ton of questions, it's easy to find them. And you can also edit each question. So if you come in here and click edit, you can adjust the actual question and really make it your own. And this brings us to what I think is our most exciting feature in Quiz 2.0, and that is the Recall Challenge. So you can come in here, pop in your name, and let's have a look at the challenge. And basically what you can do is you can share a challenge with anyone. They don't need to have Recall, and sign up free. They're able to take the quiz just like you would. So anyone who is interested in the same content as you, is listening to the same podcasts as you, or maybe you have a friend who's been dropping some hot facts that you want to fact check, the Recall Challenge is, I think, one of the best ways to do that. So I'm going to start, and let me take my challenge. I don't actually know this one. This one's a little bit trust-based. Flashcards, you really got to trust the person. So I did not know that one. I think that, oh man, okay. Right. Yeah, what trade-offs? I don't know. I did not know. Okay, alright, this one looks easy. Alright. No idea. No idea. And close. Really, I'm just guessing. Close. False. Not sure. So, okay. No idea. I'll actually that one. There was attention, the lost, and the attention button on the previous year. After that. I should read. That's not that one. All right. So, not great. I don't know if these were all easy. Igor, I feel like we need to chat about the difficulty settings. And definitely a humbling experience, because I have to say I have been the one dropping hot facts about this podcast. So, yeah, something for me to think about. Should not be listening to podcasts whilst running. So if you have any friends who also listen to this podcast or any other content that you've been listening to, I highly recommend creating a challenge. And speaking of, I'm going to be dropping some challenges into the description of the video, so do stay tuned to the end so we can get a little bit competitive together. But before I wrap up on just the quiz that you can take, there is a really big feature that I have to walk you through, and that is the recall review. Now, to access the recall review, you just have to click this little hat icon in the left-hand panel, and this brings us to a really foundational feature. As I mentioned at the start of the video, we all experience the forgetting curve, and this is how recall offsets the forgetting curve. We use two scientific techniques called active recall and spaced repetition to build you a personalized learning schedule. The idea is if you keep getting something incorrect, the more you'll see it. The more you get something correct, the less you'll see it. And this all forms part of your spaced repetition schedule. So if you just think back when I showed you that I could add questions to my spaced repetition schedule, that's how it would populate in the section where I could start a quiz. And this isn't just any quiz, this is my spaced repetition quiz. The idea here is all of those questions that have formed part of my spaced repetition schedule, they get shuffled up and they now have new intervals for me to review them. So as you can see right now, I have 156 questions due. This week I'll have 5 more. Next week I'll have 39 more. And this will adapt depending on how well I answer these 156 questions now. So this really is a proven technique to offset your forgetting curve. So if you really want to get a little bit deeper and you want to get into a rhythm in terms of committing things to longer term memory, then this is where I highly recommend that you take a little bit of a peek and maybe customize what is in and out of your schedule. If you want to do that, you can head over to the questions tab, and here you can see all of the questions that you generated within Recall. You can bulk select all of them and just review them now, or you can filter them. So you can filter them by what's due in that spaced repetition schedule. You can filter them by type, difficulty, and by tag. So this is really cool because if, let's say, I'm just interested in my health questions right now, I can select health, or I can drop this down and pick just the few that I'm interested in. And I can then go ahead and select just my health questions and start a review on just those. So what's really nice is if there's topics you're interested in, you can add them to your recall review, filter them by your tag, and then take a quiz on it. A few more things to cover in the actual quiz tab, and this is streaks. So what's really awesome is I only just started testing it, and I did with a day, so I already lost my streak. But here you can come in and have a streak so you can look at how frequently you are doing your quiz, but you can also customize it. So if a daily streak is too much, it's not going to suit your schedule. If you come into your settings, you can switch it to weekly. And while I'm in here, let me walk you through a couple more of the settings that you can see. We have email notifications built in, push notifications as well, the streak goal, which I mentioned. And then you may have noticed that while I was taking the quiz, there was a little timer going off. And this is where you can add timed questions. So put a little bit of pressure into the mix while you're answering your questions and set a timer on how quickly you need to answer each question. And that's it for the settings. And of course, you can see your all-time stats. And what's really nice is you can also go back historically and get a big overall view on what your progress has been. That was it for Quiz 2.0. I really hope that you enjoy our new features, but I'm not going to let you go just yet. Please check out the description where I have 2 live challenges. So one is actually on this hour-long podcast. I don't know if anyone of you who's watching this is actually really interested in the history of AI, or perhaps listen to the podcast. Would love to see how you do. I'm pretty sure you are going to destroy the leaderboard for this one. And I also have a quiz on this video itself. So let's see how much you paid attention and how much you actually learned. Please keep the feedback coming. If you're not already on our Discord, please do join us. And yeah, I will see you in the next one. Cheers.